So here we go. This is by Chenwei Ni. I apologize how I say people's names. I don't speak anything except for really poor English. In Philosophia, can a bodily theorist of pain speak Mandarin? Which seems like a very unlikely thing. If you are in pain, can you speak Mandarin? It doesn't seem like it goes that way. But, well, as always, feel free to ask questions along the way. We're going to go find out what this is about. But, I want to know what the bodily view of pain is kind of what why I'm interested here, and we'll find out. So let me know, and here we are. And remember, if you stick around to the end, you get to vote on the review, and your review will be recorded and posted online eventually. And then we have a little philosophy roulette review, and you can be part of that if you stick around to the end. Okay, the bodily view of pain and locative locutions for pain. Suppose you are suffering from a paper cut on the fingertip. I actually cut my finger. I don't know if you can. Yeah, see that little line? I did get a cut there. It was not on paper, though. It was on the back of an X-Acto knife. I was pushing too hard because it was getting dull, and then I got cut on the dull side of an X-Acto knife. Like, come on, man. So you're suffering from a cut on the fingertip, like me. It is beyond dispute that there is tissue damage in your fingertip, and you're experiencing pain. Yeah, it hurt. But there are significant disagreements among philosophers about the nature of pain. One disagreement is concerned with the question of whether pains are something mental or something bodily. According to the mental state view, pains are mental states which are in the head if they are anywhere. Although there are further debates on the nature of pain qua mental state. For example, some argue that pains are conscious mental states, like all these very famous people, and others argue that pains can be unconscious mental states, like other different famous people. They all deny that pains are something which inhabit body parts. By contrast, bodily theorists argue that pains are states of body parts or objects which are located in body parts. And there's a whole different group of people here. These look less famous, but maybe not. I mean, the people up here look very famous. These people look maybe less famous, but maybe they're right. This paper focuses on the bodily view that pains are objects which are located in body parts. According to Adede, many pain locutions in English lend support to this bodily view. Consider the following two sentences. A. I have a coin in my left pocket. B. I have a sharp pain in my left thigh. On the face of it, B shares the same surface grammatical structure with A. And this suggests that, like the coin, which is an object located in my left pocket, alright, here's my coin, I'm going to put it in my left pocket. The sharp pain is conceived as an object which is located in my left thigh. Let us call it the surface grammar argument for the bodily view of pain. For a critique of this, see the argument in Day 2019. Yeah, I mean, this is the immediately got to go back to the Wittgenstein beetle in the box. Because it's like saying, hey, I got this coin in my pocket. And I say, can I see it? And you say, no, you can't see my coin. And you're like, well, how do I know you got a coin in your pocket? You just say it is. And that's the thing. If you have a pain in your left thigh, you can't show me the pain. But if you have a coin in the pocket, you can show me the coin. And that's the Infernal. What's going on? Vipers, you want to know, this is one of the problems of philosophy. They all look much cooler than they are. Based on the titles alone, a lot of these papers look really cool, but then you get into them and you're like, fuck, this is terrible metaphysics. But yeah. The question is, who cares? This paper would make for a much more entertaining TV show. Already I'm like, oh fuck, language? Your argument is language? Yeah, this is, hopefully they're going to move away from this very quickly. This is just their, surface grammatical structure argument. Yeah, hopefully this will just be, it'll go very quickly past this. The question is, who cares? Well, this is how a lot of philosophy starts, just in an abstract sense. Well, not abstract, like a general sense. When people are trying to get a sense, well, what is pain? And you say, well, how do you talk about it? And then maybe you can take the language as a reflection of our experience or the way the world is. Because a lot of times you say, well, the coin is in your pocket, and you say, well, that's where the coin is located. Then you say, well, maybe the pain is similar because it's like that. It's just a simple argument from analogy. Oh, do you, Anne? Is it a cookie? I want a cookie. So let's give Anne a shout out. Anne is a philosopher here on twitch.tv/AnneFernal. Plays a lot of games, does a lot of chatting, has advanced degrees in sociology. So go hang out with Anne. Anne's cool. But yeah. Yeah, it's like, or is it a dollar bill? I like dollar bills too. Yeah. So, all right. So basically, this is the first hand wave. This is a hand wave. That's all this was. And they didn't take a whole lot. I'm not angry with this. They, one little paragraph here. All right. In a recent paper, Liu and Klein carry out a cross-linguistic analysis, and they claim that one, pain locutions like the one we're talking about, which they call locative locutions, are impermissible in Mandarin. And this puts the bodily view of pain at risk. See, that's the thing. If you say, people like in English say, oh, the pain is like in my pocket, or in my thigh, like it's in like a coin in my pocket, then you find another language where you can't say that, then all of a sudden you're like, well, what's the evidence for why you think it's similar to being in some part of your body? Okay, before discussing the empirical question of whether Mandarin has locative locutions for pain, it is worth considering the philosophical question of to what extent a language without locative locutions for pain would be a problem for the bodily view of pain. Yeah, so if you can't say you have a pain in a certain area, then why? I think I've read something like this. I really hope I haven't read this paper already. No, this just came out, right? Yeah, 2023. I definitely didn't read it this year. Viper says, according to French, tables have tits, so I wouldn't put too much stock in language. Yes. This is exactly it. It's a lot of times the philosophers use it, but you have to not always read too much into it. Now, if you're making your whole theory saying, well, pain's in the body and not in the mind, you need to be able to locate. That's what they're saying about this, locative locutions. Like what you're locating certain things in parts of your body. If you can't even do that in a language, then you got a problem. But we have like, where would the pain be? Well, then if it's in your mind, that's like the immaterial mind. So like it doesn't have a location. But the idea is like, well, most people, at least in English, like to say I have a pain in my hand and my foot, and that like places it into the body somewhere. And so you have to like take that seriously, even though people have expressions for all sorts of stuff that doesn't make any literal sense. But it's fair. Like, why are we taking some things literally and other things to be a metaphor? And, like, not real. Okay, to answer the question of whether, if you can't even talk about locations of pain, then to answer that, it would be helpful to examine the question of to what extent the locative locutions for pain in English are a problem for the mental state view of pain. Your pain is at 8 p.m. Eastern, Wednesdays and Sundays. Well, I ain't twisting your arm to be here, man. But hey, I do this for whatever dumb reason I do it. It's like, I hope people get something out of it, and I hope it's not too painful. I know, like, me droning on forever is like, yeah. Frank says, I would think pain would be the signal which would start in your leg and be communicated to your head, or do they mean suffering? No, I think they're trying to figure out what is pain. And so, yeah, there's a signal, but like, they mentioned bodily damage earlier. So where's the bodily damage? Well, that's in part of your body, but that's obvious. Like the cut is on my finger. Like I have a cut there. You can see it. Like that little line, you can see a little line right there. It's like, okay, just a small little thing. So the pain is a signal, but then you're saying the pain's in your head because it's signaling that there's bodily damage. But the alternate theory is saying, no, the pain is located where the damage is. And that's the thing. Viper says, if a knife falls on a paraplegic's leg, does he make a sound? Is the paraplegic able to speak or make sounds? I would think so. Like, if they don't feel it, no. But if they do see it, they might yell at the person who did it. So if you watch the Alien movie, Alien Resurrection, they do that. They drop a knife. One guy drops a knife on a paraplegic's leg as a bad joke, I guess, because he's an asshole. But it's meant to be an asshole. It's meant to be like sort of a not very important thing. So, but like he drops onto it. The paraplegic does not notice it, but when he does notice it, he starts yelling. So, Shandira says, my tooth is dead. My tooth is in my mouth, therefore I am dead inside. Yeah, that's a good one. Ivan Neo asks, if a spectral knife falls on a man's phantom limb, does he feel it? Well, people say phantom pain is real. They feel real pain on phantom limbs. So is the pain existing in the phantom pain in the phantom limb, or is it all in your head? So, yeah, deep cut. But that's the thing. You can have phantom pain, but I don't know if you also want to take these sort of like limit cases as the fundamentals. You might take them as data to be talked about, but you want to talk about normal pain. That's what we're trying to describe here, not phantom pain. But it's a good point. Like, does phantom pain exist as a counterexample to the bodily theory of pain, which this author wants to talk about here? I don't know. I'm sure they've had to, come up with something to say about it. Okay. So yeah. So what are the problems here? Cure phantom pain with a placebo. You'd need a phantom placebo though, Unreal Brian, I think. I don't know if you can do it with a normal placebo. You need a phantom placebo for phantom pain. Yeah. Okay, so Ty, for example, explicitly acknowledges that the locative locutions for pain in English pose a challenge to the adverbial theory of pain. In response, he rejects the surface grammar argument and argues that the locative locutions should not be understood at face value. One reason in favor of Ty's response is that the locative locutions, if understood at face value, would generate certain problems. For instance, Bach asks us to consider the following inference. Frank says, with pain being the signal, you can feel the same pain with or without the damage, even with or without the leg. Yeah, that's fair. But I think that's the thing that, these people are saying, look, you're already assuming that the pain's in your head and it's just the damage is getting signaled to your mind and then the pain's in your mind. But, these people are just saying, no, the damage is in your hand, and if the signal is faulty, then you can have more pain, but it's a faulty signal. That's not actual real pain. It's a faulty it's not a signaling real pain. You're going to have real pain, but it's signaling fake pain. I guess they'd just say it's a bad signal then. An exorcism, yes. Everything is just a social contract. And Frank says, a small part of my brain is in your leg. Like if you're treating your whole nervous system that way, then yes. Or extended mind things where your whole leg is part of the way you understand the world. So yeah, it's I'm sure they have ways to push back against the just a signal view, because they could say, look, when you have actual pain, then the pain is located where the damage is, and if you don't have that part of your leg, but it's a signal, then you're getting a bad signal out of that part of your body. You could do something like that. I don't know if that's what they do actually say, but you can see how that would be an easy way out, saying it's a bad signal that's not actual legit pain. Viper says, wouldn't the implication of the bodily theory be that after you die, you feel yourself decompose? Maybe for a bit. Until there's nothing left to feel. The nerves are gonna, die too. So, but maybe you do feel a little bit. Well, here's a better question then. We're constantly changing all the time. Maybe this is just your normal sense of self is you're feeling yourself decompose, because you've got cells skin's flaking off, whatever, hair is your hair's not alive, you're growing hair though. So it's maybe that is what it is to be yourself, is just to feel yourself decompose over the course of your life, and eventually that's all you have left. So as opposed to the regeneration of your body. So you don't need to die for this. All right, so this is consider the following inference. Quote, the pain is in my fingertip. Yeah. The fingertip is in my mouth. Therefore, the pain is in my mouth. Yeah, so well, that's unfair, but yes. Okay, Block argues that the inference is invalid despite the apparent validity with respect to its surface structure. He suggests that we should not take such kind of pain locutions at face value. Well, you can't take no, this is an unfair argument. You can't take any place argument like this at face value, because you could say, well, where do you live? And you could say the earth, and everyone would be like, no shit, Sherlock, we all live on the earth. And so you can't ever take like locations at face value. You always, it's actually an Aristotelian argument. You have to take the smallest location when you're talking about location. You have to take, when the pain's in your finger, you have to take the smallest location, which is your finger. If you put your finger in the room, in this house, you don't say the pain's in the house. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, well, yes, I agree, and these are dumb syllogisms. Ivan Neo says the implicit premise of the body pain has to be the physical model of the body and brain are false because no one who knows what is happening at the cellular level is going to think that the pain model makes any sense. I'm not sure what you exactly mean. So it's like, I don't know what's going on at the cellular level. I mean, there's damage at the cellular level that isn't identical to the pain. Yeah, you have to explain a bit more. Bite my finger again in your screenshot. So the physical model of a body and brain are false. Yeah, I guess it's non-physicalist. I guess, is that where you're going? That like because then everything would be in the mind, like the physical brain, and yeah, maybe there's some underlying. Maybe if you're saying there's some underlying like dualism here, that might be the case. Okay. Because no one who knows what is happening so is going to think the bodily pain model makes any sense. I don't know. Because like what exactly is the pain? It's not meant to be the exact damage. I mean, it's not. I don't think anyone thinks that the pain is a representation of the damage specifically. Yeah. I mean, that in the physical model, pain is in the interaction between all the parts. Oh, okay. I don't know. I just don't know what they'd say about all these things. Like, you're getting me on a theory I don't know a whole lot about. So it's like, I'm not sure. Like, I just don't know. But like, this is why I read the papers. I get to learn new things. So, yeah. Yeah, I guess since you can have phantom pains, it wouldn't be the interaction at that point, or it'd be the wrong sort of interaction. Yeah, I just don't know. Yeah, maybe that. This is why we read. A lot of times when I do know something of the theories and people bring up the big counterpoints, I'm like, just hold on. I know they got this covered, but maybe they don't here. I just don't know. Think about this. Can someone believe themselves to be in pain and be wrong about it? No. Well, we've got some psycho people that do say that. There are... I mean... And some people may also misjudge what exactly their body is doing. So they think they're in pain, even though it wouldn't be what the rest of us call pain. I wouldn't put that past people. And then also, yeah, so you have let's torture them as they torture us. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, you can sort of like maybe build up a thought that you're in pain when you really aren't. Now, like, if I sit around long enough, I'm always in some measure of pain. Like, most common thought in my head is like, I'm hungry or my knee hurts. And like right now my back had a little bit of pain. I wouldn't call myself in any like serious pain, but just a little bit. So if I like wasn't thinking about it, I wouldn't even notice it. But because I'm thinking about it, yeah, now I notice it. Yeah. I mean, to believe oneself to be in pain is the definition of pain in the sense that we mean, yeah. So like if you're just like believing it and you think it's like in your head, then maybe, yeah, it'd be you can't be wrong about feeling the pain. So you can't be wrong about the feeling of it. Yeah, that's fine. Neil Bryan says phantom pain would involve actual irritation of nerves, whereas psychosomatic pain would be something in the brain that's not in the peripheral nerves. Did that make it different? I don't know, Unreal Brian. It's the question. It's what I was thinking. Cinesemac says, I'm trying to draw a parallel now with PTSD. It's not something you can prove to people. Yeah, I mean, if you feel you're in pain, no one can tell you that you're not when you actually feel it. So it's like, yeah. Now, the question is, if you are, can you have some sort of like problem with the way you're understanding yourself? Maybe, and like you've sort of gotten confused about pain. I don't know how that would work, but like I can see a theory of saying, look, people have like sort of misjudged the way their experience is going. So I don't know. Yeah. Systematic says, well, even if I even freeze it carefully to say that they believe themselves to be in pain and it doesn't matter where they say so. We're not So we're not, so we don't have to believe it, then they already know they are in pain. Yeah, it's like they have to be in pain. So, okay, we got ads coming back if anyone comes in. So it's like, if you believe it and you feel it, it's like no one can do it. Yeah, it was badly transcribed, but it's okay. I think I got your point. It's like, look, if you are experiencing pain, you're not going to be wrong about experiencing it. Now, could there be something further on that? Maybe it could be like finessed, but chances are if you're experiencing pain, there's no getting around you feeling that pain. All right, so okay. So this is a weird argument, but yeah. Viper says if you're in pain, quote, is the pain spherical to conserve the second law of thermodynamics? I don't know how I don't know the physics of pain. We'd have to have like some physicist come and get an amount of pain and see how it works. Ivan Neo says you can hurt yourself while your attention is elsewhere, then later bring your consciousness to attend to it later. When this happens to me, I think, oh yeah, I've hurt myself and I was sort of in pain without being fully aware of it. Yeah, definitely. I used to have a nasty habit of getting cut and not realizing it until later, and then I'd be like, oh, look at that, I was bleeding all over the fucking place. It hasn't happened in a while. I haven't been like doing as many stupid things like out in like in the world, but like yeah, I used to just get like nicks and scratches and not realize it till later, and be like, hey, look, I must have been in pain. Ask us. I bet he has an album called The Physics of Pain. He would. Some people think that pain is hot. Check the internet. Interesting. Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about this weird little linguistic crap here. So Bloch argues that the meaning of the preposition in for pain's qua mental particulars differs from the meaning of in for physical objects. Yeah,
Side Semietics gifted 19 bits. Side Semietics says, cheer good on you. And how ethical would it be to do traumatic thought experiments? Let us innovate.
Well, I mean, I thank you for the 19 bits. In most of my discussions with people, they find the trolley problem extremely painful. So they're like, why are you talking about such a stupid, contrived example? And that would be a traumatic thought experiment. So, I mean, it happens every day. Science frowns upon those experiments. There's things where, like, people are shown, like, what is it called? The people who do, community managers for like Facebook or whatever, and they have like social media, and they have to look at terrible things like that people upload to see if they break TOS or not. So it's like these people have to go look at terrible things all day, and it's horrible for them. Very, very horrible. The famous one is Rocco's Basilisk. Yeah, I think we've talked about that here before. Rocco's Basilisk is like if an AI is becoming powerful and then you don't help it, would it be vengeful against you? Be like, you should have known, like, to help me. Like, I'm this great basilisk. So it's like, yeah. So that would be very bad for you. Yeah, they farm out to poor people in India. Yeah. So it's really bad work. It's damaging to their mental health. And, like, it makes them look at all sorts of horrible things, and they don't get enough money for this because they're poor. Like, they have no other options. It's, like, bad. You recently came across a paper called Unethical Thought Experiments. That sounds like a lot of fun, that paper. Unfortunately, now that I just said that, it's probably really, really boring, because anything with a fun title tends to be really boring in philosophy. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm trying to remember, was there torture? Would, like, the all-powerful basilisk come back and torture you for not helping it? Yeah. I don't think I have a law named after me. You can come up with one if you want, but, what? All philosophy with cool names is terribly boring? Yeah, that might be a thing, but, like, I just think most philosophy is terribly boring, so what are you going to do? Yeah, so this basically says the proposal that such kinds of pain locution should not be understood at face value is shared among many philosophers, though they may disagree on how exactly we should understand such kinds of pain locutions. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Oh, refresh. Let's see, we got clicky. Let's see what we got. So these are some of the AI things we had, but I didn't hit refresh. Those were the old ones. Let's see some of the new ones. Oh, God, learning Mandarin through the toe injury route. Look at this. Oh, no. He learned Mandarin, but he had to break his toe to do it. On Searle's Chinese toe problem. Wow. It's like, it looks like an old, like maybe like looks like Searle, like kind of like half with what they think a Chinese guy looks like. I don't know. Oh, wow. Look how bad they mangled his toes. So on this foot, he looks like he got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 toes. Probably 4. And on this one, he looks like he got too many toes. Yee. On Leibniz, Impossible Worlds, both with whiskey. You know, a Leibniz whiskey would probably sell. That's, you know, I wonder if Leibniz was a drinker. If you don't know about Leibniz, they don't really understand how Leibniz wrote what he wrote. He wrote some ungodly amount of stuff. They don't think he slept. They think he was basically an insomniac who just wrote all day and night to write the amount that he wrote. It doesn't really make sense. It's like you hear people with like 50, 60,000 pages of like handwritten notes like in boxes when they die. He had something like 300,000. Like it doesn't really make sense. It's hard to understand. Okay, these are cool too. What do we got, Tindarius? Should I just try it and report it? What is all of this? What do you have the facilities to make whiskey? That'd be cool. Oh, you wanted to try the remote social media monitor? No, I don't think. Well, don't do it. Don't do it for stream. I mean, if you want to find out, it just cannot be good. Like it cannot be good. Yeah. Like that'd be such a. There's almost no way that like you're gonna. First, I don't think they'd hire you, and second, it's not gonna be a good time. But yeah, go right ahead if you wanna torture yourself. Like go right ahead. Not saying you're weak-minded. I'm saying it's just why would you be? Are you masochistic? Is the question. Are you trying to like actively injure yourself? So yeah. That was the era of history when certain people would drink like 40 cups of coffee a day. Yeah, but like Leibniz, like they seriously don't think he ever slept more than 3 hours a night just by the sheer quantity of output that he wrote. Yeah. No one's calling you weak-minded, Tindarius. I'd call you masochistic if you went and did that. Yeah, so is a thing. Just for fun, yeah, for funsies. I mean, getting a job for funsies is like, I mean, go ahead. Yeah, exactly. Unreal Brian's like, just go do crazy philosophy and math things. Oh yeah, if you want to go like you're basically experimenting with yourself in like Facebook, and I don't really have any qualms about like experimenting with Facebook. If you want to go experiment with yourself, have at it. I guess it's up to you. So okay, so in the grand scheme of things, we find out, the author says, this suggests that a certain form of surface grammar itself does not suffice to put a philosophical view of pain at risk. Shocking. I mean, if you've ever visited a gore site, you're not traumatized, you probably can do that job. Yeah, but the level of crap people upload, I don't think, I don't know. You just want to see how bad it is? Well, I mean, the thing is, you'd have to go through the whole, like, onboarding process. So it might take a little bit of time. Like, you know, getting hired, there's a whole bunch of effort and time that has to go into these things. So it's like that. If you want to just do it, like to find out, go right ahead. But again, is it really going to be worth it to do it? And then you might have to quit after a few days. And yeah, maybe it doesn't matter to you. Like if you got the time, go for it and you're interested. But yeah, if you want to just see what people are uploading, it's probably going to be just like tons of people's like family pictures that you don't care about. And you're like, hey, grandma, gore, grandma. Ah, dearie. Okay. Well, I thought it was funny. Okay. Moreover, if we take a mental state views and bodily views as metaphysical theses, then a certain form of surface grammar itself can hardly provide a knockdown argument against a metaphysical thesis, even if we accept that it may pose some challenge. Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you're saying something's in the world, like, who cares what, like, we're saying? Admittedly, for some bodily theorists, the bodily view of pain is not only a metaphysical thesis, but a folk psychological thesis about people's actual concept of pain. Yeah, see, there's a thing. People don't think that pain's in their head. I mean, maybe they're wrong about that, but people generally don't think it's just in their brain somewhere. Maybe people nowadays do with like a more scientific worldview, but I don't know. People, when you think your hand's hurting, you don't think, oh, there's pain in my head and my hand is damaged. That seems like you're pulling apart the ideas with a lot of analysis, which is not your immediate thought. At least it's not my immediate thought. Okay, would the existence of a language without locative locutions for pain be a grave problem for the bodily view as a folk psychological thesis? At first glance, the existence of such a language might seem at odds with the bodily view that bodily view that speakers of that language conceive of pain as objects which are located in body parts. In this sense, such a language poses a greater challenge to the bodily view as a folk psychological thesis as opposed to the bodily view as a metaphysical thesis. But I think the bodily theorists have at least several possible responses at hand. Yeah, because like if no one in a language talks about pain being in the body, they only talk about in the mind, and you say, well, then it's just an artifact of history that you're talking about it in a part of your body. So if everyone that speaks Mandarin, which is a large amount of people, do not do that, then maybe it's just an artifact of, history, and it doesn't really matter. Hey, Rethius, what's going on? Hope you're well. Bodily theorists may argue that speakers of different languages do have different concepts of pain. This response might not seem satisfactory for many philosophers who hold that there is an intimate relationship between concepts and experiences. They may argue that if speakers of different languages have different concepts of pain, then they will have different experiences of pain. Hey, Lumpy, what's going on? This is, however, at odds with the intuitive idea that experience of physical pain itself is a cross-cultural universal. While bodily theorists could also reject the idea that experiences of pain is a cross-cultural universal, I think they have a different and perhaps better response, which explains why the existence of language without locative locutions for pain is not a grave problem for their folk psychological thesis. Oh, nice. You're going to go... I forget how far away Muffin is from you, but that sounds like a good time. So, do you have a 3-day weekend, or are you leaving, after work on Friday? But, that sounds like fun. And does that mean you're not going to be streaming this weekend? 2.5 hours. Okay, so that's not terrible. Yeah, you're in... Yeah. Aha. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Lumpy's off this weekend. We'll have to find something else to do with our mornings. Yeah, cool. So it's here's a question, and we're talking about pain at the moment, and there's two kind of splits. Pain's in your head or pain's in your body, literally. The pain is a part of your hand when you're in pain. And so the idea is if you have a language where no one says it's in their hand, like Mandarin apparently, then where is the pain? Then it makes no sense for all the people who say it's in your hand. Well, if there's a whole group of people who don't do that, then maybe those people are just wrong. It always was always in your head, and what we're doing when we say pain is in my hand is just a metaphor or a shorthand, and it doesn't have any reality to it. Yeah. So that's all that's going on here. So bodily theorists may emphasize that bodily views are not solely built on the basis of surface grammar argument, but are mainly supported by carefully designed empirical studies, including questionnaire studies and corpus analysis. Pain is me. I am pain. Pain becomes me. Sounds like a very intense emo lifestyle you've got for yourself, Unreal Brian. I mean, are we going to get RAR XD out of you soon? Yeah. I apologize. Lumpy says, I just thinking the other day if there would be a way to accurately measure one's physical pain, it would be a useful medical tool. Yeah, it's very hard because a lot of times it's very subjective. You were talking existentialism on Ivan's stream? Ivan, you were talking existentialism, but that's continental. What's wrong? You feeling okay, Ivan? Yeah. I walked into a hospital once, and they in U.S. hospitals they ask you. I don't know if they do this by you. They ask you on what scale from 0 to 10, how much pain are you in, and you're supposed to say, well, 0 is no pain and 10 is intense pain or whatever, and you're supposed to judge on that. I don't have a 0 to 10 pain scale. I have normal pain, the pain I'm normally in, like now when I talk about my back hurts or my knee hurts. That's constant. So it's like normal pain. I have unnormal pain, and that's when I'm like injured, and then I have death. So I have three things. So I have normal pain, unnormal pain, and death. And death is like, going beyond like whatever like injury might be. So it's like, yeah. 10 is supposed to be debilitating. You can't do anything. Yeah, they do that here. So then you can't do anything else. Yeah, and so it's like 10 is like really, really bad pain. It's weird. Like they're asking you, are you 0 to 10? What are you in? It's like, well, I'm talking to you, so like whatever. When you had a toothache infection last year, that dialed it up to 11. I'm not surprised. Like certain pains, like you really can't do anything. Like you're just stuck being in pain, and like they have really, really, really strong narcotics for that stuff nowadays. Yeah, but like it's not, again, it's subjective. It's telling you how you feel and are you able to move or whatever, but that's up to like different people can like move even with like grievous injury. So it's like, I don't know if there's an objective way to do this, but like this is what we have. 10, I'm actively being mauled by a bear. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to go into my medical history. I was thinking I could explain some things to people. So, oh yeah, I cut myself on this hand, not the one I was showing you, like this little cut you can barely see. You see a little red line on one side. Toothache was worse. Yeah, like you can't think sometimes you're in so much pain. But all right, so I got a cut. I went to the hospital. I mean, I'm not in any pain. I needed stitches is really what it was. It wasn't going to like just heal itself. I needed stitches. So I go in. They give me anesthetic. They missed with the anesthetic. And so they are sewing me up, and I'm like, the anesthetic missed. And I don't show pain. I'm just like, the anesthetic missed. Yeah, like I feel everything. And the doctor's like, oh, that's ridiculous. I'm like, no. Like, it didn't work, but whatever. I'm not going to argue with you. And then one of the nurses comes over and goes, oh my God, he's actually turning green. So here's a better pain chart. Okay. So yeah, so this is a better pain chart that Ivan Neo has shown us. So 0 is just like, I guess, normal existential dread, and then we're getting into like 6 is like really existential like collapse, and then now you're crying, and then once you get to like 7, 8, 9, 10, you're just losing your mind, and 11 is past 11 is too serious for numbers. Oh God, yeah, neuropathy is. Had you on strong sedatives for 3 long months? Yeah, neuropathy is no joke. That's bad. But like I was literally turning green, and like the nurse was calling other nurses over to look at me, and they were like, why? And then I started telling the doctor, I feel this whole thing, like it hurts. And he's like, no. I'm like, the nurses are calling each other to look at me because they've never seen anyone turn green before. I was literally turning green. It was weird. I could see myself in like a mirror. I was like, shit, yeah, you are turning green. Well, that's my problem is I was like, yes, I'm turning green. Like I don't change my tone of voice. I'm like, this is extremely painful. And they're like, you don't sound like it. I'm like, I don't vocalize pain like that. I'm just telling you it is. Okay, so yeah, so we've got 0 is high. I'm not experiencing any pain at all. I don't even know I'm here. 1 is I'm completely unsure whether I'm experiencing pain or itching. Maybe there's a bad taste in my mouth. 2 is need a band-aid. 3 is starting to get distressing. You don't want it to happen again. 4 is it's not fucking around. 5 is like, why? Why is this happening to me? 6 is like, okay, super legit. 7 is I see Jesus coming for me and I'm scared. 8 is I'm experiencing a disturbing amount of pain. I might actually be dying. Please help. 9 is I'm definitely dying. 10 is I'm actively being mauled by a bear. 11 is blood is going to explode out of my face at any moment. And too serious for numbers. You probably have Ebola. It appears that you may also be suffering from stigmata and or pink eye. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry about the pain discussion, Ann. I had a buddy at work. I have a buddy at work. He was in this kind of pain once, and they were shooting him up. He was in the hospital, and they were shooting him up, and he was acting so belligerent because of the pain he was in that they called the hospital president down, like the top administrator, because they had to give him like an illegal amount of painkillers to calm him down. Like this was at the level of, we might kill him if we give him any more sedatives, but he's completely not sedated, so we have to give him more sedatives, or he might like injure himself or somebody else because he was in so much pain. And like, so they actually had to get the hospital president or like the administrator down to sign off on it. And apparently the lady showed up and was like, oh yeah, do it, just go. Cinesemiac says you would be a great secret agent because it sounds like they wouldn't know when you're hurting when they pull out your teeth. I mean, I don't know, like, I'm not saying I'd be good at torture. I'd be saying I'm not a bad liar. Like, because I'm very even keeled, so I could tell you something I didn't believe. Hell, half the philosophy I talk about I don't believe, so it's like I could lie. So I don't think I'm a bad liar. Society praises people who are composed, but I was a little too much. Yeah. So yeah, no joke, that's the thing. Daenerys says I once got shot by an arrow through your upper lip. An arrow? Like through here? Went to the hospital reception. She asked me what the issue was while I had blood all over my face, and I was pointing to the hole in my upper lip. You know, it's their job to ask, of course, sometimes, even if it's obvious, but still. Because, like, you know, you may have had a hole in your upper lip, but you may have had a worse problem, too. Maybe you try your hand at being lightly waterboarded. No, drowning is no fun. An arrow from a bow. Yeah, I was kind of figuring, like, you've got a whole thing. Because people have gone into emergency rooms with, like straight up arrows going through them. But, like, if it wasn't there anymore. But, like, yeah, you'd probably have to get your lip, stitched back together. Which is completely not, like, that's not very nice. Yeah. Okay. So where is Pain? Oh, you're off to stream. See you, friends. See ya, and yeah. Have a great rest of your night. Yep. Was it an accident? I saw my friend who fucked up his shot. Kind of both. Wow. Okay. A little bit of both. Alrighty. Yeah. That person, yeah, you might not want to be around them when they have an arrow in their hands anymore. Okay, so more things about pain. For example, a group of empirical studies aims to find out whether ordinary people think that pain hallucinations are possible. So here we're going. We're going right into what we were asking about earlier. Can a phantom pain or hallucinating pain actually, is that possible? The idea is that if the mental state view of pain is true, that ordinary people conceive of pains as mental states, then they would think that pain hallucinations are impossible. This is because, according to the mental state view, any situation that a person cannot discriminate from a situation in which he himself has a pain counts as a situation in which he has a pain. Yes, you can't hallucinate pain, you just feel the pain. Lumpy says, Randy Feltface told about his uncle who melted and fused his hand on the tailpipe of a mini bike. Yeah, he grabbed it stupidly, slammed on the mini bike on the triage counter and said, I have done a mischief. The whole ER stopped to look at him. Yeah, well, that's one of those, like, I fucked up bad. Yeah, because your hand is, like, stuck to the hot thing. Yee, that sounds terrible. You're going to need, like, skin grafts and shit. Yeah, but, like, there was somebody who, in New York, you hear, like, a lot of medical stuff, like, random stupid shit. It's like, yeah, and people live sometimes and sometimes they don't, but, like, you know, people get, like, shot with arrows here too. Like, I remember I was away from New York for, like, a week. I was, like, overseas. Very rare that I go anywhere, but this was many years ago. I got back and there was, like, a bear was seen in, like, the city for the first time in, like, a long time. Someone was shot with an arrow, and then some other ridiculous story was happening. And I was like, thank God I'm at home where the news makes no sense. None. I was like, it's just ridiculous. So it's like, yeah. Okay, so the result of these studies show that almost 2/3 of participants endorsed the possibility of pain hallucinations. So this is 2/3 of the people were disagreeing with cinesemiotics, saying that if you imagine pain, then you can't be mistaken about it. They're saying 2/3 of people can say you're mistaken about it. So according to Reuter et al., this result supports the view that pains are bodily states as opposed to mental states. It is important to note that the result supports not only the view that pains are bodily states, but also the view that pains are objects located in body parts, which is the view of Lewin Klein that Lewin Klein take issue with. So it's interesting. So when this actual thing that have been discussing was specifically studied, and this isn't that long ago, this is 2014 stuff, then, Reuter et al. Right here in 2014, page 87, people say no, we can't. The pain is in the body. We can hallucinate it as if it was in the body. Okay. So if you have a problem with that, that's empirical science. You'd have to go look up this Reuter. Okay. Can the existence of language with locative locutions for pain pose a challenge to these empirical studies? It might be if there is an argument that locative locutions for pain are important variables in these studies, the absence of which would change the result. Yeah, so if they were asking people what they said about it, then yeah, I feel like what you want to know is part of what they were asking. Okay, since not only is such an argument absent in Lewin Klein's paper, but it is far from clear that such an argument is plausible, the existence of a language without locative locutions for pain does not seem to be a grave problem for the bodily view of pain as a folk psychological thesis. Okay, so this was not part of the questionnaire. They weren't asking like how people were talking about stuff. This was just imagining it. Now, I guess you could like Sapir-Whorf this and say, well, these people, if they were, say, English speakers, then the way they were speaking about was shaping their world. But like, that's, Sapir-Whorf we've discussed, not 100% like, that's not like 100% merited nowadays. Sort of more of a cultural relativity thing. So whatever. Anywho, finish up this section. In this section, the author has argued that a language without locative locutions for pain can hardly pose an enormous challenge to the bodily view of pain as a metaphysical thesis or a folk psychological thesis. I acknowledge that such language, if it exists, would be a challenge for bodily theorists who intend to build her theory on the basis of the surface grammar argument. However, for it to be real rather than imaginative challenge, an imaginative challenge, one needs to demonstrate that such a language actually exists. Lewin Klein argued that Mandarin is such a language. I disagree. In the next section, I shall argue that Mandarin in fact contains a wide range of locative locutions for pain, which lend support to the bodily view of pain. Okay, so they're saying, look, throw out the surface grammar bullshit, throw out just the sort of metaphysical thing, because when you account for that, like when you ask people actually what they believe about it, it doesn't work out to say, look, you can actually think that the people do believe that it's in part, the pain is in your hand, not in your head. Okay, so locative locutions for pain in Mandarin. Mandarin is the largest spoken language in the world by the number of native speakers. Lewin Klein claimed that the locative form for reporting on physical pain in English is impermissible in Mandarin. If the idea behind the surface grammar argument is correct, that the surface grammar of pain locutions in a particular language reflect the concept of pain in that language, then Lewin Klein's claim seemed to suggest that few Mandarin speakers conceive of pains as objects which are located in body parts. At first blush, this suggestion about Mandarin speakers' concept of pain seems implausible because at the very least there is no evidence that the bodily view of pain is something alien to Mandarin speakers. The implausibility of this suggestion in turn indicates that there is something wrong with Lewin Klein's claim about the pain locutions in Mandarin. Why does this author get to claim this right here? I mean, unless they went out and studied native Mandarin speakers, how do they know what people in Mandarin are saying or think about where their pain is? So I don't really... They're saying it's implausible, but why? They didn't do the empirical study, did they? Anyhow, Lewin Klein acknowledged that Mandarin has predictive locutions for pain, such as that my back hurts and that my back is painful. By contrast, what they call the locative form of pain locutions has four distinct features as follows. 1. It uses a prepositional phrase. Most importantly, it can take the preposition in, as in my back. The use of the preposition in signals the body part where the pain is located. 2. Pain is countable. One can say a pain. 3. It permits an existential construction as there is a pain. And 4. It permits a possessive construction as in I have a pain in my back. These are all reasonable things. People say this in different ways, and I suspect there's a lot of other ways. And I bet there's some specific to different languages pain, and I bet there's even specific to different subgroups pain. Like even among English speakers, I bet certain English speakers say one of these more than the other, or even have some other ones. I wouldn't even be surprised if, like, yeah, our Irish or Scottish friends have some very clever ways to say that, you know, something is a pain. According to Lewin Klein, the locative locutions, at least on the surface, would commit pain to being the objects of sensation rather than just properties of objects like body parts. Yeah, you can always type exclamation point paper. So, boom, there it is. I think. Oh, you know what happened? If you click on, let me show you. If you click on this thing here, Warwick, it kind of says the page is missing. So you check for saved version here. I don't know if your browser will have this. I'll give you a better link. On the way back. So here. Okay. Yeah, so the controversial claim proposed by Lewin Klein is that none of these features is permissible in Mandarin, and hence Mandarin has no locative locutions for pain. So you can't say anything about in or having a pain in your back, anything like that. So before discussing the details of these 4 features, I'm not convinced that we should unreflectively take the grammatical features of English as the criteria to make a judgment about Mandarin. Fair. For example, one grammatical feature of English locutions for past actions is that past tense verbs should be used. By contrast, in Mandarin, the same verb is used to refer to the past and present actions. It would be absurd, however, to conclude that Mandarin has no locutions for past actions just because we cannot find any past tense verb in Mandarin. Of course, it does not mean that we cannot use any features of English to make judgments about Mandarin, but it is reasonable to say that we should be extra cautious about what an apparent difference between English and Mandarin can tell us. In the following, I shall argue that Lewin Klein's claim may be misguided by some apparent differences between English and Mandarin. Brian says there's a lot of cognitive linguistics they should be looking at before talking about this, and they reference none of it. Yeah, this is the problem. I think this paper here is good, but it's a negative paper. It's just saying, look, these people who are talking about language and like pain are wrong. And so basically what you're saying is like if they had looked at some more cognitive linguistics, maybe it would be better. But the thing is, they're just saying these other people are wrong, and it's the other people that really need to do the linguistics heavy lifting, and it looks like they didn't do it. And yeah, they should be cognitive linguistics that should be referenced here. And since this is a negative paper saying other people are wrong, it would really be on the other people to have the scientific backing of the cognitive linguistics. So, like, I think you're 100% right, Brian. It's just that this paper doesn't need it. It's that the other people needed it, and then this paper would have had to have countered that. But it's not what happened. Okay. The first feature, because they're just saying there's ways around everything. There's always ways around everything. Question is, are you willing to bite the bullets to go those ways? That's how philosophy works. Yeah. Unreal Brian says there's a lot of work on the relationship of what construction a language has versus how that affects a native speaker's experience and how you research test that. Yeah. I mean, they used that stuff, I guess, maybe to not great effect. Maybe it would be good enough sometimes to get a result out of that. I don't know. But I mean, if that's all they have and there's like other stuff in cognitive linguistics, look, I don't know cognitive linguistics. So it's like maybe there's a lot of good relevant stuff there. They should have done that. It would have been a better argument. And then they wouldn't be, this author wouldn't have anything to say about Lewin Klein. But, yeah, this seems like at this point in the paper, this is just attacking the view that any sort of language stuff that has been presented already is a good enough evidence to show that the bodily view is wrong. Because Mandarin, you don't have the bodily view in Mandarin because they don't say it in Mandarin. But, they're just going to give some counterexamples now. Okay. The first feature of the locative form of pain locutions in English is the use of preposition in, which signals the body part where the pain is located. Is a similar kind of pain locutions permissible in Mandarin. Low and Klein acknowledged that in Mandarin, the preposition li is similar in meaning to the preposition in or inside in specifying the location of concrete physical objects. But they claim that li is not usually used in a postpositional phrase in Mandarin to signal the body part affected by physical pain. Okay, so they don't use that in word to say you've got a pain in that area. Low and Klein did not provide much evidence to support this claim. It seems that their claim was based on the intuition of a few Mandarin speakers. To verify Low and Klein's claim, it would not be enough to appeal to a few more Mandarin speakers' intuition, no matter whether it may confirm or disconfirm Low and Klein's claim. Instead, to get a comprehensive picture of Mandarin pain locutions, it is better to conduct a corpus analysis, which will also help us verify whether certain kinds of pain locutions are in fact present in Mandarin. There are quite a few existing Chinese corpora. The corpus I shall use is called the Beijing Language and Culture University Corpus Center Corpus, or the BCC Corpus for short. It is available online at said URL. Mandarin has 3 words whose meaning is similar to that of the English word pain, tong, teng, and ting tong. If Low and Klein, and I apologize for how I say the Chinese, if Low and Klein claim it is true that li is not used in a postpositional phrase of Mandarin to signal the body part affected by physical pain, then we would not find Mandarin pain locutions with the following structure. So, the noun phrase, li, that'd be in, and then in pain. So, however, when the phrase li tang, in pain, is searched in the corpus, it generates 58 results, including mouth in pain, or pain in mouth, and belly in pain, pain in the belly. So it looks like if you pull enough Chinese, people do say it eventually. Now, that may not be a good counterexample because these may be deficient Chinese speakers, depending on how big a corpus it is. Like, was this like a little kid that doesn't really speak Mandarin very well? Or someone that's like otherwise, injured and can't get their words out? Like say you're injured, you can't say any words, and you just have like the minimum. Maybe you say something ungrammatical that gets your point across, but still. So these 2 examples, author says, I think suffice to illustrate that, contra Low and Klein's claim, in Mandarin, li can be used in a postpositional phrase to signal the body parts affected by pain. You see, I wonder about that. If they only, in a large language, okay, they have 58 results, and including these 2 to show whatever. So I wonder if, okay, yeah, so this is the thing. In this footnote down here, they do kind of talk about that they did throw out a bunch of examples that weren't correct. So they were being good about this. Okay, but that's fine. So people in Chinese do say, I have a pain in my mouth. I have a pain in my butt. It's philosophy. Moreover, not only does Mandarin have a postpositional li, which is similar to the English preposition in, it also has, as I shall note, at least 2 prepositions yu and zai, which can be used to report on the location of pain in body parts. When the phrase tong yu, pain in, or tong zai, pain in, are searched in the BCC corpus, the results include the following examples. So you got pain in bone marrow, and where is the pain? I don't know how you'd have pain in the bone marrow, like maybe your bones hurt or something. That's weird, but okay. The fact that Mandarin has both the postpositional li and the prepositions yu and zai to signal the body parts affected by physical pain suggests that regarding the first feature, Mandarin lends no less, if not more, support to the bodily view of pain. The second feature of the locative forms of pain locutions in English is that pain is countable. One can say a pain. Is a similar kind of pain locutions permissible in Mandarin. Low and Klein claim that in Mandarin, one cannot say a pain because in Mandarin, sensations in general are not countable. I mean, this makes sense. In some sense, I have a pain in my back, but like if I was to get specific about it, it's kind of like it's hard to quantify exactly what a pain is. So the idea that like I'm just saying it's a general area where it's in, it's like I have a back and it has pain. It's not like there's multiple things that have pain, it's just my back hurts. So it's like, yeah, I can see where you can get away with not saying a pain, but that's not going to make a big difference. Okay, author says, I agree that one cannot say a pain in Mandarin, but the reason is not that pain or sensations in general are not countable in Mandarin. Rather, it is because, unlike English, Mandarin does not have articles, a, an, and the. Obviously, we cannot use Mandarin's lack of articles and hence the lack of the phrase a pain to support the claim that pain is not countable in Mandarin. Otherwise, it might imply a silly claim that nothing in Mandarin is countable. Yeah, I mean, if you can't say a quarter, then you can't count quarters. It's like, no, of course you can count money in Chinese. To check whether pain is countable in Mandarin, instead of asking whether a pain is permissible, we should ask whether one pain, two pains, and the like are permissible. Again, we shall rely on the corpus analysis. When the phrase yi tong, one pain, is searched in the BCC corpus, it generates 890 results, including this one pain in the left shoulder, one pain after another. When we replace the Chinese word yi, one, with a bigger number, the BCC corpus generates more examples, such as 3 illnesses and 2 pains. Interestingly, in Mandarin, the meaning of the phrase Chinese words I'm not going to attempt, san, bing, air, tong, is not that the subject suffers from literally 3 illnesses and 2 pains, but the subject suffers from many illnesses and many pains. Okay, so it's a phrase. You just say, oh, they're just hurting at that point. Phrases with a similar meaning include 3 illnesses and 4 pains, 7 illnesses and 8 pains. So I guess it's sort of like a schema thing to explain this.
Sign Semiotics gifted 11 bits. Sign Semiotics says, Kappa once fresh, always fresh, refresh, fresh, if she freshy, refreshingly, fresh, fresh.
Thank you for the 11 bits. Let's go refresh then. Okay, so we had some drinking here. Now what are we going to get? Oh, has to load first. Okay, what is this? This looks very pain locator device. Well, that's kind of cool. So this is a pain locator device. Well, it's got like this weird skull in the background. And it's got like I don't know, like an eye. I don't know how well you can see it. It's kind of skull looking here. And then it's got another face up here. And like, I don't know if they're gears or eyeballs, but this is kind of cool looking flowers. On describing and masking pain in the head and neck. Okay, so we've got sort of a Mexican skull thing going on here, which is kind of cool. And this is actually, no, this is just, what's it called? Call of Duty mask with that, like, face paint. Goth Hour, exactly, Unreal Brian. Yes. It does sound like a poetic construction. It sounds like, a phrase where you say a lot of illnesses and you say a huge number of illnesses and a huge number of pains. Just saying, I got problems. You understand? You say I got like 17 illnesses and 14 pains. It's not meant to be taken literally. It means I got problems. This is weird. This hand though is like really freaky because it's like they're doing this, but like they didn't get the knuckles right, so it looks like they've like this, and it's all wrong. It's just all really, really disturbing, this hand. But okay. And like the nose here is wrong. Like, I don't know if you can see exactly, but it looks weird. Bearing an arrow, unconcerned. So this is just how Tindarios just does stuff. And it completely confused it. It has like a little yellow arrow swinging off his jacket unconcernedly. Okay. That's awesome. Oh, and there's a bear here. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Pain measurement innovations. Okay, this looks like some sort of infographic to describe pain, but of course, being the current level of AI, you can't read the words and all the symbols are all just confused. But that's kind of cool too. Oh wow, and then they've got some sort of like huge chart underneath that makes no sense. But that's interesting. On having 2 phantom limbs, this looks like, I have no idea why it looks like this, but this looks almost like a VR headset that is up on his head, but I don't see what anything about, but it looks kind of cool. And then we're back to unlearning Mandarin through the toe injury route. And this poor guy who stubbed his toe. Yeah, this I'm quite liking this pain locator device thing, because it's kind of like H.R. Geiger, sort of like biomechanical with like flowers and stuff. I think that's very cool. You got this little medallion hanging off here. I am a little bit worried. You can see down here in the lower right hand corner. What was it? For others. Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you see how there's like a signature down here? This makes me worried that like they just ripped off someone's art and they put like they kind of blurred the signature, but like this might be someone's art that like it changed a little bit, and someone like because this looks very cool, and so maybe this was like something, and then it sort of molded two together, and then we're getting someone's signature down here. That's a little concerning, but whatever. State of the world right now. Okay, cool. Okay. So yeah, so clearly the Chinese, it's mulling more like 50. What's mulling? Oh, or 50,000. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I heard a story where an artist, some people in their community were like, yo, someone ripped off your art. And they're like, okay, I'll go look it up. And they looked it up, and it was their painting that, yeah, I figured that it may be like an abstraction of signatures. But here's the thing. This person looked up what it was. It was like an album, and they had ripped off their painting. The only difference was the moon. It was a full moon in their painting, and it had gone into like a a crescent moon in the art. But like everything else was the same. And she contacted, the artist or the label, and they said, well, we hired a guy to do this, and he said he was going to use AI, and that would be perfectly okay. And they were like, yeah, it isn't, because the AI sucked. The AI ripped off my art, and it made one small change that was irrelevant. And so it's like, you can't always tell. Did it really meld a bunch of art together and like come up with something new, or did it just the prompt only get it to take one person's artist to make one little tweak that was inconsequential? So this is why I worry about the AIs at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it's more likely what Cinesemiotic said is that paintings in general are have signatures on it, so it probably put something there like another art, because so many of them had little signatures in the corner. So who knows at this point? AI already intelligent enough to engage in malicious compliance? No, that was the lawyers who run the AI. They say it uses all the other stuff, and that makes it compliant. But that was the humans who said it was free to use. So that's actually human bullshit, not the AI bullshit. Frank says it'll be okay in a few years when the AI lawmakers give us better copyright laws. Yeah. Well, I don't know if they'll do any worse than our current lawmakers. So yeah. But yeah, I don't trust the AI at the moment either. I wouldn't want computers just to make the laws. Even now, when we have some control over them, I don't really trust that the computers know what they're doing at the moment. A lot of, and for those people who deal with computers, garbage in, garbage out. The computers at the moment are still very dependent on what we feed them for training and what we give them as like initial conditions. And I have no faith that that's good, and that the computer can sort through all the crap and find actually what is worthwhile in there. So, okay. So again, what you can't really say in Mandarin is a pain. So, is this entire matter worth an entire show itself on the nature of philosophy of IP? Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm not an expert on this, but like the whole IP and AI stuff, people have been hashing that out a lot though online. AI start reeling Carl Schmidt. This is the thing. I've said this before, but I like saying the greatest trick big tech ever pulled was convincing everyone that they were neutral. They're not neutral. They take all their information from like old sources and then they build on it, but they're not neutral. And the idea that they're like the algorithms behind Twitter, behind Google, behind Facebook, behind all of these places, Microsoft with the open AI chat GPT, the idea that this is somehow not biased and not and neutral and just giving you like a good output is wrong. You got to remember, it was trained on internet forums. It was trained on Reddit. Does anyone think Reddit is not a biased site? Like, or not the site itself, but the comments on Reddit are not biased. Of course they're biased. And it's like, and so that's what you're training ChatGPT on. Why would you think that is unbiased? It's not. Frank says, not knowing what they're doing doesn't sound bad compared to laws made by people who do know what they're doing but are malicious. Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe soon enough they'll get to be better and be a little bit more fair or equitable. But again, I don't trust the computers and I don't trust the people, but I don't want to trade. I don't want to just, jump ship to the computers on the hope that they're going to do a better job. Like, I'd want to think that they actually are going to do a better job. I wouldn't want to just, toss out whatever good politicians we do have to, go use computers because, it's like an untested thing. It's like, I that doesn't sound great either. You don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Yeah. Okay. So you can't say a pain in Mandarin. They write, one cannot say this thing in Mandarin. I agree that statement is not an idiomatic Mandarin locution, but this doesn't entail that Mandarin speakers cannot use one of the one pain thing structures to report on physical pain. Even though that a pain is not idiomatic, we shall check whether Mandarin speakers use the one pain thing when you're talking about a pain. When the latter phrases are searched in the corpus, it generates 223 and 659 results, respectively, including "this is called a pain." These examples suffice to illustrate that, contra Lewin Klein's claim, pain can be countable in Mandarin. The third feature of the locative form of pain locutions in English is that it permits an existential construction, as in, there is a pain. Excuse me. The fourth feature is that it permits a possessive construction, as in, I have a pain in my back. Lewin Klein acknowledged that Mandarin has an equivalent to there is in English, that is you. But it is crucial to notice that the Mandarin word you can be used in the existential sense as well as the possessive sense. We cannot rely on the surface grammar of a Mandarin locution with the word you to judge whether it is used in the existential sense or the possessive sense. For example, in the locution Huang Xing Yu Shui, there is water on Mars, it is an existential use of you, while in the locution Wo Yu Qian, I have money, it is a possessive use of you. This means that the surface grammar of a Mandarin locution with the word you cannot tell us whether it meets the requirement of the third feature or the fourth feature. That being said, we can still ask whether Mandarin has locutions for pain using the word you. Lewin Klein argued that the answer is negative because the Mandarin speakers do not say, I have pain. Indeed, this is not an idiomatic Mandarin locution for physical pain, but it does not entail that Mandarin has no locutions for physical pain with the word you. Once again, we shall use the corpus analysis to find out our answer. The phrase you, tong, have pain is searched in the BCC corpus. It generates 1,697 results, including there is a pain in the left kidney area and patient has pain. It is evident that, contra Lewin Klein's claim, Mandarin has pain locutions in the existential sense and pain locutions in the possessive sense. So far, I have argued that Mandarin has pain locutions with all the four features of the locative form of pain locutions in English. This suggests that many pain locutions in Mandarin also lend support to the bodily view of pain. Moreover, there are many Mandarin pain locutions which take pains not only as objects but as moving objects. Pain penetrates the door of the heart. Pain enters the bone marrow. I have no idea what that actually means. I mean, that sounds very metaphorical, but then again, it can lend credence, like it can lend support to the idea of how people speaking Mandarin are envisioning pain, that it can move from one area to another area, and that would put it in, from maybe my elbow into my wrist or something, and so then it would be moving along my arm, and that would give it a locative flavor. Okay, it might be argued that some of these Mandarin locutions can be given a non-locative interpretation. Among the examples related in the first feature, Azuli Tang, pain in the mouth, can be interpreted as mouth hurts, which is a predicative locution. Among the examples related to the second feature, Sanbing Er Tong, 3 illnesses and 4 pains, can be interpreted as 3 kinds of illnesses and 2 kinds of pain, which only sends that says that there are different kinds of pain rather than that pain is countable. Among the examples related to the third feature, Yu Shen Q Yu Tong, there is a pain in the left kidney area, can be interpreted as the left kidney area hurts, which is a predictive notion. Like, not predictive as in predicting, but a predicative, I think. So you're saying something of it, that it has a property. It's not that it's there, that the kidneys have the property of it. Okay, in response, I do not deny that some of the aforementioned Mandarin locutions are open to various interpretations, including a non-locative interpretation. But the question of how a locative location can be interpreted is more importantly different from the question of what the surface grammar of that locution shows. Consider the English locative locution, there is a pain in my back. It can arguably be interpreted as my back hurts, which is a predictive locution. But the possibility of this interpretation doesn't entail that the surface grammar of there is a pain in my back cannot lend support to the bodily view of pain. Similarly, as far as the surface grammar is concerned, the aforementioned pain locutions in Mandarin are sufficient to show that, compared to English, Mandarin lends no less, if not more, support to the bodily view of pain. Okay, so conclusion. Cross-linguistic research can shed invaluable light on philosophical theories. The apparent linguistic differences between languages, however, can sometimes be deceptive. Loenklein carried out a cross-linguistic analysis concerning the bodily view of pain, that pains are objects which are located in body parts. They claim that 1. Mandarin has no locative locutions for pain, and 2. The absence of locative locutions for pain puts the bodily view of pain at risk. In this paper, I first discussed the philosophical claim and argued that the significance of the challenge posed by a language without locative locutions for pain is overestimated. I then discussed the empirical claim. I identified the possible factors which might have misled Loenklein about Mandarin and locutions, and argued that Mandarin has a wide range of locative locutions for pain, which lend support to the bodily view by conducting a corpus analysis. The use of corpus analysis invites further inquiries about, for example, how many kinds of pain locutions there are in English and Mandarin, and what their frequencies are, and to what extent they can support a particular theory of pain. Answers to these questions, though beyond the scope of this paper, will help us achieve a deeper understanding of the nature of pain. Okay. I mean, in the end, you're like, all right, yes, you can maintain your bodily view of pain if you want to, because the counterexamples, you can reinterpret the way people are saying things one way or the other, and it's okay. Because, like, people are clever. These people are clever. They can say, hey, look, there are plenty of times where Mandarin speakers say something like, there is a pain in my knee or whatever. I mean, not a crazy thesis. But anyway, let's give it a little rating here. I don't know if you had any questions, let me know. I don't have a whole lot more to say. It's like, what did they do? They said, hey, look, if you're talking about body stuff, is a language where they don't talk about pains in the body sufficient for undermining that theory? And the answer is no. Like, you can maintain the theory even if some people aren't talking about it. But let's give it a little rating. So here we go. This is the emote review for anyone who doesn't know. You noped out. Vipers, no. It was just not as bad as you expected or suspected. It just was not that it wasn't that great either. Basically, what they did was it was kind of navel gazing, as Frank Big Time says. It's only for academics. They basically were saying someone else was wrong. The other people probably were wrong, and then they didn't have a whole lot more to say. So it was like, it just wasn't that illuminating. Basically, all they did was they defended the bodily view against this other view, and it was like, it's all right. So they didn't make any big claims that shriveled up. There was navel gazing is the issue. So you can see if anyone else wants to vote, you can type in navel, and you get a navel there. Let's see, nothing deep for the Ouroboros, no scream, there was no existential stuff. You don't think it was bad, really just uninteresting, which is unfair, but hey, so is life. No. This is emote review is like, you give me your opinion, it's fine. I mean, did it have any fun ideas? No, not really. It was again mostly negative. So it was just that. Did they slice and dice an argument? I mean, this is a little bit of analytic stuff. And was it all style, so no substance? Still poop underneath? Not really. I mean, it wasn't poopy. It wasn't like existential. It was a whole lot of. It was okay. So you know what I'm gonna say? We're gonna give this a Should it get a knife? Question is, was it really doing any analytic slicing dicing? They're gonna get one nog knife too. So this is it. This is like only. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna say vote yay, but only if you care about defending the view, and so, but only if you care about the topic. You know what? Nah, I'm gonna say vote nay. Screw it. I'm not gonna give it a yay. So that way, it's like, don't bother. There's no reason to bother reading this. I feel a little bit bad about that. Like, vote nay is like for bad articles usually. I don't feel bad about this, or maybe I'll give it one of each. It's a real like 50-50 paper. Hey, you know what? I feel better about that. I'm gonna give it a vote yay and a vote nay, and because it's a real like meh sort of thing. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just, whatever it is. So anyone else want to get in on the review? Please, you got another minute or so. You type vote nay. That's all it is. You can also copy it out of chat. You don't put it in quotes, man. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry, Frank. You were showing how to do it. My apologies. No, you have to get the spelling right. The V is capital. So, yep. Just copy one of the ones from the other people. Oh, maybe you're on cell phone. Thank you, Tindarius, for voting, and thank you, Frank, for showing how to do it. Hey, Unreal Brian did it. Yay! Thank you all for voting. Like, this will all get this is all getting saved. When you do it, it saves this chat when you put one of these emotes in, and then I'm gonna have a site and it'll put all this stuff up on it. Yeah, the V is capital, chap. What is that from? V from Vendetta? Not Vendetta. That was from what was that from? Old Man. Yeah. So, yeah, I know. I'm in some chats. I feel like I'm an old Twitch, like old person Twitch sometimes. So it's like, yes. Yeah. The vote yay and vote nay are global emotes. The other ones are my local ones. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the bits, and thank you for the art.